Hello, my name is Harry Hobson. I'm President and CEO of Plymouth Harbor.
And I'm Karen Novak, the Administrator for Strategic Healthcare Initiatives at Plymouth Harbor.
Good. Thanks, Karen, for joining me again for today's update. There's several things I'd like to talk about today, and then we'll have a special guest that will also be joining us. What I'd like to do is ask you to give us a campus update again on coronavirus. And also, I know you spent quite a bit of time over the weekend looking at the Federal Register and a lot of CMS publications that came out. And I think you're going to give us a little bit of a highlight regarding testing and where we are today on that. And then I'm going to share a bit more information about our visitation station, which we are piloting this week. And I actually have a graphic I'm going to put up and share with people. And then we're going to talk about social isolation and the way that we're trying to address that through our Rejuvenation Team. And we'll have a special guest join us for that. So Karen, why don't you go ahead and give us a campus update?
Well, we continue to do very well. Currently, short and sweet, we have no residents that are positive, and we have no staff members whatsoever that are positive either. So let's keep up the good work, keep our hands clean, and keep those masks on.
Outstanding. And once again, it has everything to do with our residents being compliant with all of everything you've told us about social distancing, mask, etc. And our team members have been just superb. They really have been. And thanks again to all the family members who have been so supportive through this endeavor. A lot of reading you did over the weekend, and then yesterday on Monday we had our leading age call, and boy, there was a lot to unpack during that call. Can you give us some highlights regarding the testing?
Sure. It's been a very interesting weekend, not only with the CDC kind of going up and down, but looking at the new regulations by CMS for testing. They've actually given us new parameters. So once the governor kind of stops with his order, and we expect that to end in another couple of weeks, beginning tomorrow, we're going to start the new process for testing with CMS. Now, CMS is ACA. They are really our regulatory entity that tells us what we can or can't do. So we really need to follow those guidelines. These guidelines are actually based on the community positivity rates, and they've given us finite parameters with which to really look at and then base the testing requirements on those parameters. So if we've got a community positivity rate of 10%, that 10% or greater, that means we're testing all the staff and all the residents twice a week until we get that number down. From 5% to just at 10%, it is a weekly testing. And then anything below 5%, it's once a month testing. Now, currently, our week by week percentage rate for positivity in the Sarasota County is 4.6, but our cumulative rate is 8.6. For the last couple of weeks, but we're seeking some clarification. We've gone out to ACA's main contact person, Kim Smoke, who will hopefully provide some guidance. We're not the only ones that are a little bit muffled by what's going on. There's a lot of confusion right now with a lot of the verbiage that CMS put out, but we want to make sure we're doing the right thing the first time and complying just so that we keep everything in order. There are also some little tweaks that come into the picture when you start looking at people that are positive, but we won't go into too much of that right now because it's then data overload. But know that we are on top of this ever-changing world of CMS and COVID. And indeed, those QSO reports that come out from CMS are keeping me definitely hopping. And I'll tell you, Harry, they weren't quite so bad to read. The Federal Register, on the other hand, I could probably do without that one. It was pretty intense. But all in all, I learned a lot, which I think in the long run just really strengthens us here at Plymouth Harbor to have a plan in place and get those tests done correctly.
Well, I know you really do like to delve into that detail, and you know we benefit from that. So thank you for all that hard work this weekend and keeping us on the straight and narrow, so to speak. I can assure all of our residents and families and team members that Karen, as she looks at that detail, if there's something that maybe we're looking a little bit like an outlier, we will caucus immediately and bring ourselves back in line. Really haven't had to do that much at all, if at all, but we've got a good leader there, which we're very fortunate to have. So what I'd like to do is take a few minutes and build on our introduction that we did last week on the new and improved, as I call it, a visitation station. So what I'm going to do is put up for everybody a illustration. And you'll see us up here in the corner, okay? But let me try to walk you through this orientation. And Karen, feel free to comment as I walk through this. So we're referring to this as our visitation station. We call it our new and improved. And it is open this week on a pilot basis only, with some residents and visitors, everybody who currently lives here at Plymouth Harbor, only, with the exception of a couple advisory committee folks from the outside whose spouses are here. We're going through that process right now. So if I were to take this picture today, it looks a little more, how should I say, friendly from the standpoint, we tried to soften the room with some flowers, etc. But what I'm going to do is walk you through this, okay? When you come in, let's go to this area here, the upper right-hand corner. As you walk into Visitation Station, which is located in our Care Partners Resource Center. That's North Garden 213. We established that nearly 2 years ago. And it's all part of the Brain Health Initiative. It's all a part of our PAC training, the positive approach to care. And it is so appropriate to use now for our visitations. So as you come into this area, what you're seeing here is a station. Now, this chair here has been removed, but what we have is plexiglass, and there are holes here, to help as far as the communication is concerned. So in this scenario, somebody would come in, the resident would be on this side, sitting here, and that person's spouse, family member would be seated here. Might be 2 or 3 folks visiting this one resident. So we're excited about that. The additional thing with this station we're able to do, and we're going to be piloting that, and that is, yes, we do have 2 couples that are friends, and they've double dated quite often. So we're going to also pilot that from the standpoint of having the resident A here, this person's friend here. These are residents. And on the other side of the glass, if you will be their spouses. And they'll be able to enjoy some refreshments and have a really quality visit. That's station number 1, okay?
And socially distance. The distance is there so that we're not going to encroach upon, each other. That was really important. We took all those parameters for maintaining our COVID awareness in place in the room itself.
Absolutely. The committee to put this together, I may have chaired it, but I guarantee you, Karen, Joe, Brandy, George, and Marty have all been involved with this. So we tried to do it the right way. I know we've done it the right way. Now, if you were to continue past this area, you can see a chair over here. That's this. And in the upper left-hand corner, that's the monitor station. There'll always be someone here monitoring the activity. What are they monitoring? They're monitoring that if the resident or their family member needs assistance at all, that person is there to help. And equally important to make sure that we're following all of the, I'm going to call it distance socializing as possible. Okay. So, yes, particularly going through the pilot and the early stages of the program, making sure you've got the face mask on, et cetera. So that monitor will be responsible to make sure we're following all of our guidelines. Right, Karen?
Absolutely. You know, even prior to them going into the visitation station, spouses or family members will be receiving some information with regards to the policy of the visitation station, the policy about the PPE, personal protective equipment that they will be using, as well as an affirmation statement saying, yes, I've read these policies and I agree to the compliance of maintaining that PPE and keeping that environment safe for everybody. So our visitors will have that insight prior to going into the visitation station.
So what I've done so far is I've shown you visitation station number 1, okay, the monitor station over here, okay. Down here in the bottom right-hand corner, that's just another view looking the other way of the station. So as you're looking out, okay. The other thing that was important to us was to not just have a room without a view, so to speak. So what this room here on this visitation, they do overlook the garden area of the northwest building. They can see the courtyard area and the natural lighting, et cetera. So we're pleased with that. Now, as I leave this area here, I walk in front of the monitoring station. I continue in this area, and this is where I am. This is not a mirror, okay? This is visitation station number 2. So we have the family member here, okay? This is glass, okay, with taking into consideration the holes, et cetera, for sound so people can hear fine. There's 6 feet distance here. And then the resident would come in on the other side of the wall and would be stationed right here. So they would be looking at each other this way. Okay. So in summary, you're coming in, you're going to see station number 1 here. Social distancing, nice views. You're going to see the monitor station here. That person will be here throughout. And then also, this is station number 2. So they can go on simultaneously. Karen, I know because I've been reading it over the weekend and yesterday, we've got our policies, our procedures in place. And how will this be communicated, or how will residents get this information as we work through this week, piloting, ironing out the bugs, and hopefully starting to open it up next week, provided
No positive cases.
right, and that's the governor's put that on us, rightfully so. So, Karen, talk, if you would, a little bit about the policies and procedures with this.
Sure. Well, a few weeks ago, there was a task force that actually sat together and made some recommendations for the governor about visitation. And we utilized those recommendations and built our policy around those recommendations. So our policy is very strong with regards to the visitation station itself. The people that will be visiting the visitation station, you're going to have those policies in hand prior to your actual visit. I would imagine they will arrive email, and for those that don't have emails, I'm sure we'll get their copies mailed to you. That should be going out at some point this week. I know Brandy will probably be sending them out, so look for them in your email. We're very excited that we have this opportunity, but we want to be very cautious and very careful that we do the right thing. The last thing that we want to have happen is an outbreak from something that we're doing. So we're going to do this with the utmost respect for infection prevention and control. So not only the policies will you receive, but we're also going to have you don and doff the proper PPE. That means the gowns, the gloves, the masks, and even a face shield if that is appropriate for that visit. But again, it's something that we want to provide to you because we know how important that physical intimacy is, and we want to make sure that we're doing it safely. But again, this is all based on that task force recommendations as well as CDC, the guidelines for protective personal equipment.
And I hope the residents and family members can really see through the update here with Karen and myself this morning just how committed we are to try to break isolation without breaking regulation. It's tightly controlled, but we're pushing the envelope. We feel so passionate about getting some of these folks, our residents, their spouse, their families, back together again. So we're going to do it all the way to the edge. But we're committed to do that for you. Trust me. Okay. What I'm going to do is invite another one of our team members into our Zoom meeting this afternoon. And if you give me a moment, she has just joined. So for folks that don't know, this is Tina Wilson. Tina is our Vice President of Resident and Team Member Relations here at Plymouth Harbor. Welcome in, Tina.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Tina has a great deal of responsibilities here at Plymouth Harbor. In due time, you'll hear more about our dining program, what's being planned there to try to start opening that space up again. Again, you'll hear more about that once we get through Labor Day plus 2 weeks. Okay, and I think you're going to be pleased with that. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about another way that we have been addressing social isolation, and I so appreciate Tina's leadership on this. So Tina, I'm going to ask you to tell us a little bit about the Rejuvenation Team.
Sure. My pleasure, Harry. Thank you. It started a few weeks ago when Brandy Burgess and her team were trying to think of ways that they could bring some activities and breathe a little life into the assisted living facility for the residents over there. Because while all of the residents, IL especially, have been feeling kind of shut off and closed in and everything, it's even more so for the residents in the Smith Care Center and AL. So Brandy coordinated with several other team members a wonderful circus. And there's an article that Emily's written for the September Harbor Light that explains and shows some pictures. But it was just a fabulous event. And when you see the popularity of something like that and the smiles on the residents' faces, that really triggered us to say, you know what, we have to start creating our new normal, because that's what's required. Thinking that we're going to go back, and I know you've mentioned this several times, Harry, that it's going to go back to same old, probably isn't going to happen, at least for not a long time. So we have to figure out how to do it now. And so that prompted us to start what we're calling the Rejuvenation Team. And there are 7 of us on that team. It's Beth, Franco, Brandy, Leanne, Summer, Emily, and myself. Most all of the residents.
Let me interrupt just to say that's a lot of energy there for.
That's a lot of energy. Yeah. When you get that group into, we went in Pilgrim Hall the first time, and it's a lot of fun because very creative thinking people. They're a wonderful team, and we just had ideas bouncing off the walls. It was great. And then we thought, you know what, we can't do this in a vacuum. We have to involve the residents in this because they know what they want. So the next meeting, we had invited Connie Sanders and her husband, Carl Koenig, to join us. They were completely on board, totally supportive of it. And then Carl, because he had recently done such a great job with the dining committee survey for us, I don't know if he volunteered or we twisted his arm, but at any rate, he agreed.
Volunteer.
Yeah, I'll say that. He might say otherwise, but he did put out a wonderful activities survey to the residents. And with those responses, it gave us such a good roadmap. And I'll share with you, Harry, just a few of the top ones. The top choice was 87 people, and that just said movies in Pilgrim Hall. Well, that's a really easy thing to start. Once you say it's okay for us to do it, we already have Pilgrim's Hall set up to be properly socially distanced. So we can do that. If it's really popular, we'll start streaming it into the club room and have even more residents involved in it. Second thing, and this was a major contribution from Carl and Connie, they belong to a boat club, and they have volunteered and said, you know what, every Wednesday for 6 weeks, we can take residents on pontoon boat rides around Bird Key, under the bridge, and that sort of thing. That was a really popular one too. 61 residents said, yeah, they'd love to do that. So that's in the works. Another one was outdoor movies. Beth had this idea of renting one of these huge outdoor screens. So we're looking into doing that. Another one was just games, bingo and trivia. And we have a program, software program over in AL that's portable. It's called IN2L, which stands for It's Never Too Late. And we did a demonstration of that. It could work very well in Pilgrim Hall, so we're going to plan on doing that as well. And then some concurrent themed parties. If we can't get everybody together to have one large theme party, then let's have 2 or 3 going on at the same time. And that's very doable. And the last one, and this one we're actually starting a pilot program, it's Zoom wine tasting parties. So you have a group of residents are invited to get involved with this. Dining services will come up with, say, 2 bottles of wine, a white, a red, and a nice cheese tray or a platter of appetizers. And that would go to each of the resident households that were involved in this Zoom wine tasting. You all get on Zoom, you're enjoying your drinks together and partying and just socializing. So even if you can't be in the same room, you can really have fun with it. So those are just a few of the things we're working on. And trust me, the list is much longer than those.
And Tina, this is not that far away. We're next weekend is Labor Day weekend. So give us another week or two, and you're really going to see this pick up. So Karen, from your standpoint as well, I know you're kind of overseeing it. Just make sure that we're in a safe environment. We call it Plymouth Harbor the safe harbor. So we're complying with that. We really are. But we are going to break social isolation. We really are. So that's our plan. And I was so impressed. I went to the first meeting, the kickoff meeting, and just to see who is on the committee was very rewarding. And I know every one of those folks, they don't hold back on ideas, but they're not outrageous either. And then when they have an idea, I always say a vision without a plan is a hallucination. Okay, you gotta be able to implement it. Okay, and they do. They'll come up with the idea, and then they're ready to be very much a part of making it happen. So it's a good committee, and the leadership. Thank you so much, Tina, for offering to do that.
My pleasure.
Once again, did you volunteer to do that?
Sometimes, for those of you who don't know, Harry has a way of dropping a hint, a subtle hint.
Oh, listen, you mentioned, Carl, thank you so much for your involvement on so many levels. And Connie Sanders, for those that don't know, Connie is the president of the Residents Association here. So, okay, well, we've been giving you a nice update here. We're going about 25 minutes right now. We covered quite a bit. We talked about our campus update from a COVID. I thought it was important for Karen to share with us some of the dynamics going on right now with testing, and that is a moving target, and we are on that. We gave you a virtual tour, if you will, of the Visitation Station. We're excited about that. That's coming online now. And thanks to Tina and her team for Rejuvenation. And there'll be a lot more to talk about. So, Karen, did you have anything else this morning?
Good to go. All is well. Thank Tina and the team. It's going to be very exciting around here. All within those parameters, though.
Absolutely. Well, Karen, do you want to close us out as usual?
Absolutely. We want to remind you, please wash your hands quite frequently during the day. Hit those high contact areas with that antibacterial wipe. Don't forget your keys and your cell phone. Please no more than 4 people to an elevator. I kind of saw that get stretched a little bit the other day. So remember, it's that 6-foot perimeter that we need to keep around each other at all times. But most importantly, we're coming down to keeping that number 0 in place. Please remember to wear your mask. Put it on for you, put it on for those that you love, and put it on for the people here at Plymouth Harbor. Let's keep us all safe.
Okay, excellent. Tina, thank you. Karen, and I think now it's time to don our mask, and I promise when I leave the house today, it will be done. Thank you very much.